welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am here with another astrology oracle reading for you all. And as always, I have my event chart created for Dayton, Ohio at 11:11 a.m. And today is a new moon, which means that both the sun and moon are in Gemini, forming a conjunction. So the sun and moon are coming together, and new moons are known as a time for manifesting and welcoming new change. When the moon is in a new moon phase, it's almost entirely kind of empty, right? The light is not there. And that's because it's sitting right next to the sun. And when we have a full moon, the moon is shining the full luminosity of the sun, hence it being so visible and so full. So with this new moon, we are still in the midst of a Mercury retrograde. So Mercury is, kind of hanging back in Taurus at this time, but its effects are still being felt. So if we are looking at this archetypally, we have a new moon that is welcoming something fresh at the beginning of some sort, and in the process of being in a Mercury retrograde where we're rethinking, reorganizing, reformulating, this is just a great energy to focus on applying a new way of thinking to something. With Mercury, it's all about our communication and ideas, and Mercury is in the sign of Taurus, which is an earth sign, very focused on values. So again, with that new moon energy going on in Gemini, and we have a Leo rising, which I did not mention, sorry to the Leo rising of the chart. Again, this is just a really great time to reinvigorate and rework the way that you communicate, especially your feelings. Now, in this chart, we're experiencing that conjunction of the moon and sun in the 11th house of friendships. So again, a really great time to just rethink, reformulate, re-strategize the way that you're communicating your feelings and thoughts and intuition, particularly in your friend groups. Maybe you are missing the opportunity to be a great guider, a sage to your peers. And if you're feeling a calling to do that, maybe you've been feeling a calling to do that, it's coming up again. Just definitely something to focus on. So again, in this chart, we have both the sun and moon in Gemini. We have a Leo rising. We have an Aries stellium. We have Jupiter, Mars, and Chiron in Aries. Mars and Jupiter are also still forming a conjunction. So if you're feeling really motivated or really physically amped up in some capacity, in this chart, it's in the 9th house of travel and communication, which is actually Jupiter's territory. So, if you are at all in the vicinity of Dayton, Ohio, then again, this is a ripe time to just start something and just get it going. Very, very cardinal with that Aries stellium, and, with that fixed energy going on with the Taurus stellium, and, this new moon in Gemini, which is mutable, just seems to me like a really great time to start something and share some ideas and get reconnected to the people you love. And not just the people you love, but the people that you want to reach. So with the 11th house, we're looking at large groups, society, if you will. And so when you think about when you have the two luminaries in this area, it's definitely very big picture, very big picture. So I am ready to pull. As I've always mentioned, usually when I'm looking for a card to pull, I'm just looking for something that grabs my eye, whether it's at an interesting angle or whatever else. Okay, how about this card? The second house, owning. So based on the chart that we have currently, the second house is ruled by Virgo. So if you are a Leo rising natally, depending on whether you use whole sign houses or are paying attention to degrees, the second house will be ruled by Virgo for you, or could potentially still have some Leo or even some Libra introducing. But for the sake of this conversation, our chart has the second house ruled by Virgo. And what I love to do when I look at any house is to also pay attention to the opposing energy. So the opposing energy of the second house is the 8th house. And this is, in this chart, ruled by Pisces, because of course Pisces is Virgo's opposite. So when we think about the second house, we do think about money, we do think about finances, but we're really coming at it from a perspective of resources, as of course this state's owning, and we're also looking at it in a way of security, right? So individuals that have planets in the second house may either feel really motivated to earn and to work and to build something for themselves, or, like me, if you happen to have Uranus and Neptune forming a conjunction in the second house, then a lot of scarcity mindset and a lot of uncertainty around stability and earning. Now, how that has manifested for me is I do a lot of freelance work, and growing up, I was a military brat, so I moved about every 3 years. So it makes sense that that has manifested as a sense of instability and insecurity. But what I also really love about this conjunction in the second house for me is that I have a very, eclectic and rebellious way of earning money. And that really does feel like me, starting my own business and, having some odd jobs in between and kind of shifting the direction of my business and what I focus on, and eventually coming into astrology and tarot as a way of earning a small income and helping others. So that's really what the second house is all about, is just building some sort of foundation and, having a sense of kind of expectation. So the second house is often associated with Taurus energy. And, when we think about Taurus being a fixed sign, an earth sign, the second house is really representative of material things. And I don't mean material in like, sort of a materialistic and a negative connotation. What I really mean is more like tangible, like real, here in the physical realm with us. Now, when we look again at the opposite energy of the second house, which is the 8th house, and this is associated with Scorpio, which is Taurus's opposite, we get very intense. Now, there still is some energy around money here, but unlike the second house where it's us going to work and owning our own keep, the 8th house is about other people's money. Now, in addition to my Uranus and Neptune in the second house, I have Mars in the 8th house. So for me, of course, through my freelance work, I have to really kind of hustle the opportunity of achieving and accessing other people's money, which comes through contracts and comes through retainer fees and different things of that nature. So again, if you're someone who happens to have a lot of planets in the 8th house as well as the second house, definitely looking into freelance work, contracted work, and just really kind of having a different way of approaching earning money and earning a sense of security, right? Because again, with the second house, it's not just about finances, it's about, having a house and having a roof over your head, having a bed to sleep in at night, very like material, tangible things. The 8th house is not very tangible. Again, it's associated with some Scorpio, very plutonic energy. And so this is very intense. A lot of times here we experience losses. So just something to pay attention to if you are someone who is self-employed, just paying attention to second house and 8th house transits and how that may play out for you. Now, in a completely other way, unrelated to money, the 8th house and second house can also represent, kind of losing a sense of security. And that can be like a family member or a friend. Typically with the 8th house, it's a very, occult and esoteric place. So the dead and death and, ghosts and all of that is very, very 8th house stuff. So if you happen to be someone who has a lot of planets, in the 8th house, maybe money matters and things of that nature aren't really a big deal for you. You may even be someone who actually inherits something or is well taken care of from, receiving from others. But you may also be very attuned to occult practices, and, money manifestation could be a really big deal for you. Now, again, I didn't say I wanted to talk about too much money there, but, there is something very reciprocal with the energy of the 8th house, and with death and rebirth. And so it's it's leaving but coming back. It's very interesting energy there. And the 8th house is also associated with, as I mentioned, occult practices, which can include witchcraft and astrology. So again, you know, if you are someone that has significant placements in either of these houses, then you may be very interested in money magic and money manifestation. So the 8th house, the 2nd house and owning, we are again referring to a lot of earthy energy. And in this chart currently, we do have Virgo ruling this house. All right, let's see what my handy little book here has to say about the 2nd house. Okay. So I always love the quotes that are here because they really, really resonate for me. And this quote is from Henry David Thoreau. Wealth is the ability to truly experience life. I think that's a great reminder with the 2nd house, especially when we think about kind of Taurus energy. It's very, very sensual, very sensory. So just a great reminder to like come back to actually experiencing and enjoying what this material realm has for us. You know, after all, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, but that is it. We're having a human experience, and this is a really great reminder of that. It says here, you will own it. The 2nd house is about being grounded in the physical realm. It's the house of money, about what you own and movable goods. The 2nd house is about creature comforts, lifestyle, areas supported in the physical realm. Again, this is really, really tangible stuff here. The 2nd house doesn't always have to do about money and possessions, though. It can also be talents, comfortable shelter, personal values, and even a sense of self-esteem. That's actually a really interesting addition there, because that's not really something I think about too much, is self-esteem, but it makes sense that in comfort and security that you actually have those things, right? When this card turns up, it's time to concentrate on the more practical issues of life. How are you handling your finances? How do you look out for yourself and others? Are you being rewarded? Do you make a good living at what you love? So, and these to me are all questions that feel perfectly aligned with the Mercury retrograde that we're currently experiencing. So definitely ask yourself these questions. So yeah, revisit some of these really key points regarding the 2nd house and see how they relate to you. So that is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for tuning in, and stay tuned again for another reading next week.